T.A.G. Very nice, very evil.
Yeah, that's tag shit.
Free fall as I die through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama, I don't really.
What up, Tag Nation? It's your boy ScooterRay, and I'm here with another T.A.G, the June 10th edition. And pretty exciting show. We're building towards evolution. We are building towards Great American Bash, and things are getting a little exciting. So the show opens up with, they were showing, superstars coming into the arena, and then they show Obafemi, and he gets attacked in the parking lot by Jasper Troy. And not only does he get attacked, but he gets slammed through the windshield. So now it's like, oh no, is that gonna put a damper on the main event? But we'll get there. But your opening contest is for the men's North American Championship. You got All Ego, Ethan Page defending against Evolve's Sean Legacy. Now, if you remember, Sean Legacy did get the chance after he won that triple threat match. So this was his time. Now, this wasn't a bad match for reasons. And maybe because I don't know, but for reasons, it felt like Sean Legacy was doing too much that really led to nothing. And once again, I know it could be me. It could be me. It could be my thoughts. It could be my feelings. But it felt like he just was just doing stuff, but Ethan Page was just kind of shutting it down in essence. I don't know. It could be me. It could be, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying Sean Legacy is not a bad wrestler or athlete. The man's is talented. It just felt like, I guess, his ultra high flying style, I guess it just seemed so much against Ethan Page, who we know is more technical and more grounded. But with that being said, with his high flying style, that was his downfall, because doing one thing one too many times led to All Ego taking over. Twisted Grin, 1, 2, 3, he retains. And while Ethan Page is celebrating, Ricky Saints come in and give him that beat down. And then of course he disappears. Well, of course security and everything comes, and Ava comes out and was like, I thought I told y'all stop all that fighting and rah, 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 rah. Now, to go ahead and mention later on, Saints was in Ava's office, and to where he had like the little patch on his neck. He couldn't even talk. And he was like, I know you want Paige. I know you want your get back, but you got to get better. It's funny enough, it almost seems like a rehash of Paige and Javon when he broke Javon's jaw, and he couldn't do nothing until he got better or risked the liability. It almost seems like a rehash. The only difference is the North American Championship is in the process of it. Now, I wonder how much longer Sean Legacy is going to be in Evolve before they go ahead and call him up to NXT. I wonder, are they going to kind of let him cook a little bit more in Evolve? But it seems like he's pretty much good to go. Seems like he's good to go ahead and just be in NXT. Like I said, the man has talent. Like the few times he's been on NXT TV, and from my understanding, he's been killing it down there in Evolve. He has that amazing looking finisher. So I wonder how much longer Sean Legacy is going to be down there in Evolve before they go ahead and bring him up there to NXT. And then sorry, that was the wrong way to approach that. The next segment was JC and the rest of Fatal Influence was talking to Ava, and they was talking about the fact of all the women wanting their shot, and she was getting her bars off. And then of course, upon her getting her bars off, she was talking about the fact that Fallon's not champion, maybe Jasmine will become one. Of course, they were side-eyeing, which this is probably the most fractured, dysfunctional group that all signs point to they need to break up, but they just keep they just keep figuring it out and then stay together, But it led to Lainey Reed, who was the first woman to talk her trash last week. She comes back there and she basically was like, I want my opportunity. Bow. And she kind of slaps JC. And JC was like, so you trying to take the play out the JC book? And she was like, that ain't gonna work with you just doing that. And then next thing you know, blow, she slaps her again. And JC was like, look, I want that bitch tonight, okay? And I'm even putting the championship on the line. So we will get a women's title match. JC Jane will defend against Lainey Reed. More on that later. We do get a segment with Zarya, Soul, Lash, and Ren. Basically, Zarya and Soul were back there kind of like recording TikToks. They were trying to do the whole mind meld where they both say the same word. And then in the back, Kalani and Ren, Lash comes talking, and then it kind of led to a confrontation more. It was kind of with Lash and Kalani, but it spun off between Lash and Ren. And then later on, Lash and Ren are going to have a match. And more on that later. There was a Cullen segment where pretty much Spears was kind of asking Izzy, we trust your judgment. Why did you kick Brooks out? And she was like, Brooks' heart wasn't in it. He was dressing differently. He didn't seem like he was with the group. He seemed very dejected. So she was like, with the Cullen, it's either all or nothing. You either with us or against us, because like the Cullen, you try to get rid of the weak. So, and it was kind of like well, Izzy, do you have your eye on anything else? And she was like, yeah, it may be something. There may be something. And it was a pretty cool transition, how it transitioned from that to them being on the rantway, because Spears and Nico Vance have a match against Briggs and Inamura. And, Inamura is back. And this was kind of their first match back as a tag team together like that. And it was a good match, hard hitting. Briggs and Inamura are definitely going to bring that heat. They definitely going to bring that, intensity. But the finish, of course, a lot of stuff was happening, but it led to Briggs trying to be on the top rope. Nico catches him and then kind of hits a running oh my god, I forgot. A running Dominator, Bobby Lashley's old finisher, the Dominator. He kind of catches Briggs off the top, like catch him, but he kind of snatches Briggs off the top rope and kind of hits a running Dominator. And boom, 1, 2, 3, the Cullen wins. And it was like, oh shit, just like that, huh? Like, it was like, oh shit, just like that. Like, damn, okay, cool. Wow. And then we get a segment with Chase U after the whole Saints and Ava thing. We get a segment with Chase U where pretty much Chase U Andre Chase was talking to Uriah and Kale, basically saying that, hey, y'all out here just doing stuff. Y'all not like thinking. And then they was like, okay, well, Mr. Chase, what we have to do? And he was basically giving a rundown of things. And I'm kind of interested personally with this new direction of Chase U, because they essentially killed the old version of Chase U. This is essentially Chase U 2.0. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what's the direction with this new version, because as of right now, it does not have the same heart as it did when it was Thea, Riley, and Duke. Like, as of right now, Kale and Uriah kind of come off more irritating than anything. And I'm kind of intrigued to see what's the overallness. I know that's not a word, but it's gonna be a word tonight. What's the overallness with Chase U? Like, at this point, I kind of feel they should go ahead and just kill the whole thing and just let Andre Chase be Andre Chase or something. I don't know. Maybe, like, I'm kind of feeling like how Dizzle kind of felt about the original Chase U before it started to kind of take off. But I don't know. I'm a little sketchy about this new iteration of Chase U. And we get a vignette of the Glamour. They are giving her the superstar Marilyn Monroe-esque glamour girl treatment. It's like headlines. It was actually a pretty nice, like, vignette. It kind of gave a Marilyn Monroe kind of Barbie, that type of style to it. Pretty good little vignette. But it led to the reveal of her name. And she, in NXT or in WWE, will go by Blake Monroe. Yep, the Glamour, Blake Monroe. How y'all feeling about the name, Tag Nation? I don't mind it. I honestly thought they would have kept the Mariah, kind of like how they did with Ricky. I honestly thought they would have kept the Mariah and maybe, Mariah Monroe. But Blake Monroe is her official name. And throughout the show, later on, they revealed that next week she will be signing her NXT contract. And as you can see, it will be during a match. They popped it up there during the match that I'll talk about in a bit. But back to this. Blake Monroe. I'm not mad at the name. And I'm not mad at the presentation because, once again, I'm only familiar with Mariah from her AEW stint. I know my brother, shout out to Tyke B. He's used to, before AEW, he's been following Mariah for a minute. So I'm really interested to see, I kind of have a feeling she's going to kind of have that gimmick. And this is no disrespect. She's going to kind of have that gimmick I think they sort of wanted Tiffany Stratton to have. She was supposed to be the buff Barbie, the princess. But the thing is with Mariah, we know she can be vicious in the ring. And since Tiffany Stratton was so new, that vicious side couldn't kick in yet. So I have a feeling they're going to really try to hammer that with Mariah. Like, they're going to hammer, with Blake. They're going to hammer the fact that, she's beautiful, she's pretty, but then you get her in that ring, oh baby. And I think that's the I think that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to put a little bit of that Tiffany Stratton on it, as far as, the glamour, the beauty, this and the third. But then when we really see whoever her first opponent gonna be, we gonna be like, oh shit, damn, type of energy. I think that's what's gonna be the play for Miss Blake Monroe. Next up, we do get a match, like I said, that match between Lash Legend and Ren Sinclair. Lash gets the dub. She's kind of repackaged now since she's by herself. I think she's fully leaning more into that whole bougie bully gimmick, because she's definitely very, very, very much so heel facing this time around. So, but yeah, she gets the dub over Ren. Kalani Jordan was out there because of what happened, but Lash got the dub. So didn't really matter at all. They do have a they did show a vignette of Lainey Reed, and about her, former track star and this and I want to say she had some matches on NXT Level Up when Level Up was a thing, but once again, I didn't get a chance to check her out. But I wouldn't be surprised that this was a lot of people's first time seeing her. And she's going against JC Jane for the NXT Women's Championship. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad showing. It was one of those. You know what it really felt like for those who've been watching NXT a long time? It really came off like Braun Breaker when they reintroduced NXT 2.0. It was like, hey, here's this guy, Braun Breaker, who we're in essence shoving in your face and letting you know kind of he's next up. Not necessarily saying she's next up, but it just felt weird that boom, Lainey Reed, here she is, and she's getting a title shot. So I don't know. What did they call her? The Southern something was like her nickname. But like I said, it wasn't a bad match, and it wasn't a bad showing for her. I'm kind of intrigued to see where she's gonna go forward, because considering what I'm about to tell y'all in a few minutes, I guess maybe she may hover around the women's North American Championship picture for a little bit, and then they may put her back in the women's championship. But like I said, it wasn't a bad showing. After the match, Ava had announced that there's going to be 4 single matches, and the winner of the 4 single matches the preceding week, they're going to have a fatal 4-way, and that winner will challenge JC Jane at Evolution. Now, later on in the program, they revealed it, and sorry for the quality of graphics, but yes, you got Lash and Kalani Jordan, Zarya versus Izzy Dane, Lola Vice versus Jordan Grace, and Thea Hale versus Jada Parker. Now, once again, the 4 women that win will have a fatal 4-way the following week, and that winner of the fatal 4-way will go against JC Jane at Evolution. Now, if you asking my picks, I think it should be Lash, Dame, Jordan, and Parker. Now, the winner of those 4, since they're doing it at Evolution, I don't know if they're ready to take the belt off of JC, because then I can see it possibly being maybe a Jordan Grace situation. Who knows? It could be a Lash situation, but I don't know. But next week we will get these 4 eliminator matches to determine who will be in the fatal 4-way to determine who will go against JC Jane at WWE Evolution. So that's definitely something to look forward to come next week. Next up, we do have Briggs and Inamura back there talking. First Class, KC Navarro and about to call him Top Dollar, AJ Francis of First Class. They interrupt Briggs and Inamura, and they basically, their First Class is TNA wrestlers, and they're basically talking about how they're gonna, in essence, take over the the NXT.A.G division. And Elijah walks up, and he was saying some things, and it kind of led to, of course, them exchanging words. Francis wanted to get into it with Inamura, but then KC Navarro was like, no, don't worry about it. Just we'll take care of it later. NQCC had a little moment where Ren Nope. Ren. No, Miles was there. So Miles and Tavion was back there talking, and Ren brings Charlie Dempsey. And Dempsey was like, my bad for being, unsportsmanlike. He shakes Miles' hand and was like, good luck out there. And then from that, Tavion was like, I don't know. I think I'm kind of pumped up to do it too. And then, Javon walks up, kind of, putting the battery in Tavion's back. And he was like, come on, Charlie, let me And Charlie was like, no, you definitely not ready. It should be the three of us taking over NXT together. So we'll see what happens with that. That's definitely a developing situation with that. Next up, we get a tag match: Tony D and Luca versus High Rise. That is the team of Tyson, DuPont, Tyreek, Igwe, and of course Wesley. But Wesley sat this out, so it was just Tyreek and Tyson. It was an okay tag match. I think they're trying to get High Rise over because they're officially a trio and they officially have a name. And then of course we're still trying to see, can Tony D trust Luca? It wasn't until Luca kind of showed he was fighting to where Tony D finally was like, all right, I can trust. Then Stacks show up with a crowbar. He kind of, they kind of get Stacks out. Luca kind of picks up the crowbar and just had it. Tony D is thinking, oh, you trying to hit me with it. So they're arguing. It led to Luca getting knocked out, Tony D being pinned by Tyson, and boom, High Rise gets the dub. And then it's kind of a moment where Tony D was in the middle, Luca was on one side of the ring, Stacks was on one side of the ring, and that's where it was left. Now, with this, I honestly did not expect this Tony D situation to keep going the way it's going. Like it's kind of a weird one because I thought they would have kind of just not in essence wrote Tony D off, but now with them using Luca as can Tony D trust him? We still haven't seen Rizzo, so I don't know. And then it's not like Stacks has been there to kind of be all like, I'm the new Don, I'm this, I'm that. So it's a very weird situation with this whole thing. So I'm kind of wondering where this is all gonna lead to and go, because I feel like it's kind of going on a little long. And that's just me. I am, of course, in that whole boat. There could be people mad enjoying this whole situation, but once again, it's just me. Then we get Trick Willie talking to Sarah, and basically he was talking about, of course, how he's taking over, Trick and A. He beat Elijah at the last event TNA had, so pretty much he's just running things. He ain't scared of nobody, pretty much. That he running things. And then pretty much they announced that next week we're going to get a 6-man tag, Trick Willie with First Class versus Briggs, Inamura, and Elijah. So there you go. So right now, NXT TV for next week, we got a 6-man tag, 4 eliminator matches, and Blake Monroe signing her contract. And then the main event, we get a whole beefy boy brawl. We get a hoss fight. We get, as NXT likes to say, which I'm gonna start adapting to, we get a whole Kaiju battle with Oba Femi and Jasper Troy. And once again, Jasper Troy is the season 1 winner season 1 male winner of LFG. And the crazy thing about this fight, Jasper Troy is bigger than Oba in height and almost about size. Now, this was one of those matches that I was kind of sketchy with the direction they was gonna go. Only because you got Jasper Troy kind of almost doing a little bit what I forgot her name that fast. Hold on. Laney Reed. You kind of got Jasper Troy doing what Laney Reed kind of did with I'm aiming straight for the top. And it's like, it's not a bad thing, but what happens if you lose? And when I tell you, Troy threw everything at Femi, especially with Femi already having damaged ribs. He threw everything at Femi, and these boys had them a Kaiju battle. And it was a beefy boy brawl. I got to get the vocals right. This match was literally the definition of no bread, no water, just meat. Now, ultimately, it led with Oba hitting a fall from grace. And it was a very awkward moment because he pinned him and the ref stopped counting because he said, I guess Jasper slightly got his shoulder up, because even the announcers was kind of confused and even the crowd was confused. Then it pretty much just led to Oba picking him up and hitting another fall from grace. 1, 2, 3. Oba gets the dub. Now, the only way I thought Oba was going to lose is because of maybe on Monday Night Raw, because with them doing the King of the Ring qualifying matches, there's a vacant spot in one of the matches. It's Sheamus, Bronson Reed. I forgot who the other person was. Sheamus, Bronson Reed, that person, and then mystery opponent. And I was like, if Oba loses this belt, could he be that mystery opponent? Now, of course, people kind of deduced that the mystery person could be Ilya Dragunov. You know, him finally making his return, especially since Asuka will be making her return. So why not Ilya as well? But that's the only way I thought, okay, if Oba loses this belt, then maybe he may be the mystery. But no, with him winning, there you go. Now, the only thing is, with Jasper Troy coming in as strong as he came in, he can't just now go to just fighting just to fight. Like, I feel like at this point, they're going to run this back, maybe a Great American Bash. And if they potentially doing the draft close to a round after that, maybe Oba might lose to Jasper. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm more concerned with what's the plans with Jasper, because with you establishing he was this big dominant force, he lost to the champion. Don't get me wrong, because the champion's a big dominant force too. It's like, what do you do with Jasper though? It's like, what do you do with him going forward? Do you keep him in the title picture? Do you keep him just, in essence, having squash matches with people until? So I'm kind of intrigued to see what's the plan for Jasper after this. You know, because, you know, Big Oba gonna stay dominant, and maybe if Jasper is the one supposed to dethrone, or maybe somebody else, I don't know. But that was NXT as a whole, and I'm excited for next week to see these eliminators and Blake Monroe signing her contract and his 6-man tag. So I'm excited for next week. tonight was a pretty good, pretty solid episode. You know what I'm saying? We lore building. We are lore building. And whether you loved it or hated it, don't forget to rate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, like, share, comment, subscribe. And after you subscribe, you got to tag that notification bell. Shout out to Lip Dizzle, Jaeger Bombastic, Juggernaut, and Kicking It with Leo. Thank y'all for tuning in. Love one another. Love yourself. Take care of yourself and take care of one another. This is Men's Mental Health Month. And this is Pride Month. So make sure you're really taking care of yourselves out there. And like I said, love one another out there. And love yourself. Thank y'all for tuning in, Tag Nation. And until next time, you beautiful, beautiful people, tag out. Peace.